Hold on. You might have to start over because I can't hear you, and I don't know if anybody else can either.
As you know, like we said, it ain't Taco Tuesday, it's Teague's Take Tuesday. Make sure that I don't know, he said they're having a little bit of audio things here. Did you get me back yet? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
I didn't
got you
push no
back.
button.
That just means the podcast will come out. The recorded version will come out a little bit later because I just missed like the last 2 minutes of what you were saying.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on because now you're actually coming through my. We're getting sideways here, but let's see what happened here. It didn't say M2 on my thing anymore
Oh,
for some reason.
well, I can hear you now.
All right, I'm gonna try to get back to it. Hold on. All right. Okay. What about now? Are we good?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think you're coming through your box anymore.
It's not. We got a short somewhere. Anyway, okay. I don't know what that. There we go. Sorry, everyone. Trying to get these right. I think that might be better now. Okay, so here we are. We got a little bit to talk about, right? Of course, we got to talk Bama. We got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. JT got some really cool stuff to be able to talk about with some defensive rankings. But I want to start us off with because both of our teams have kind of gone through a bye week here recently, right? Both the Dallas Cowboys and the Crimson Tide. So, what do you guys think about that? When is the best time to actually have a bye week? I know as players, you think about, okay, when is it too early to be having this? Are we really beat up? What do you use it for? What do teams use it for? Is it for rest? Is it for fixing things? Is it to add things? Is it just to go have a vacation or something of that nature? So I don't know if there's a method or science out there to say when is the best time to actually have a bye week. I think if you ask some coaches, owners of teams, they're going to tell you it just all depends from year to year when that actually works best for you. So, in my opinion, I think the Crimson Tide landed a bye week at the right time. Not necessarily because of injuries and things of that nature, but it's just the right time. There's a couple things that we need to shore up, fix, and tune back into. The Dallas Cowboys, I think it came at the right time. You had a quarterback that's kind of a little bit banged up. Gives time for some other players to come back. So I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and bring JT back in and see what he thinks about this. Just not necessarily about Alabama, but just the bye week, man. There any differences for it from a player standpoint to a coach standpoint, you think?
Um, maybe I don't know. There's always the extremes, right? In high school, I've had bye weeks the first week, meaning just like we didn't play week 0, but we played weeks 1 through 9, I guess, or 1 through 10. Which
Mm-hmm.
is that even a bye
So
week, or do you just start later than everybody else? So that's sometimes that's no fun. I've also had bye weeks at the very end of the season where you just got one more game left, which depending on how your season goes, could also be equally as terrible, especially if you're not having a very good season. And now at the end of the season, you have this week that you don't know what really to do with, and you're really just trying to get the season over with anyway. So as far as the Cowboys and Alabama, I do think these are very well timed bye weeks for multiple reasons. Sometimes you have tough road stretches where maybe you had 2 or 3 away games in a row, and it'd be nice to just come home and try to get back to some regular kind of cadence. In college, sometimes it's just good to be able to catch up on some classwork and things. Now that you know that you don't have to go anywhere and you don't have a game on Saturday and things like that. But I don't know if there's actually really I don't know if you can plan ahead of time to say, oh, this is going to be the sweet spot for a bye week. I think it kind of just happens.
I always tried to, if I had it, when I would always, if you can't really manipulate. High school is one different thing, right? It just depends on district, how many teams you got. Does it have to rotate, move around, and all that kind of stuff? But I always kind of liked it right in the middle, basically from a health standpoint that guys are going to get tired. Coaches get tired as well. And if you can get it kind of closer to the middle of it, I always thought that was good, right? It does make me think, though, would you rather have it before – we were talking about this off air a little bit. Do you want to have it before a big game or a rivalry, regardless of when that is, to give you more time to prepare versus time to fix things?
I mean, I think I like it before big games.
Because
most of the time. Well, because you can like it's a mental break in the sense of most teams are probably not actually game planning 2 weeks like you would during the season, where you're putting an install and you're saying this is what we're gonna do, and you're running scout team plays for a whole 2 weeks. I don't think most teams are doing that, and that's certainly not how we did it, but it does give you a break to, in a sense, refocus and say, okay, this is the time for me to get better at XYZ, the things that they've been telling me to do all season. And now this is the 1 week I don't actually have to worry about what the game plan is and remember to do this in this certain situation, just, running my route correctly, getting a little bit better timing with the quarterback on our plays, whether it's against air or just against our defense or whatever. And then you can mentally lock in the next week on the task at hand, knowing that you've gotten better the week before. You're rested. You're not beat up. Hopefully there's a little less treatment and things you have to do on Sunday and Monday and things like that. But I can see the other hand where you're coming off a big win, right? And you're feeling real good and you feel like you got all those momentum going on the season, and then the season's like, psych, you got to take a week off now. You're not hot anymore. You got to come back to reality.
Well, let's dive into what you think Bama might be working on, something very specific. So I'll go first and say what I think that they're a couple things that they're specifically working on. One, defending up-tempo offenses. We'll dive into what up-tempo offenses are after you talk a little bit through, just the things you have to work on. I think we should dive into that a little bit. But I think we've been hit with that a little bit over the past few weeks. And I think it's something that we're going to continue to see because it doesn't seem like we're always ready for things that move fast there. So that's one thing that I think that we have to work on. That's a defensive deal. And another piece is shoring up the calls or the mental aspects of how to get lined up. Because we heard Nick Saban talking about different things about alignment, right? I couldn't believe we even actually talked about that part of it. But and then not executing from our alignments of that way. So I kind of talked about a little bit on Twitter about how you got to disguise, you got to do things, but it does make some techniques harder. So I think we're going to go up tempo and working on the complexity of this defense. What do you think that they might be working on this week?
I think they'll be working on probably a lot of fundamentals. I think on the offensive side of the ball, I think they're going to be working on run blocking a lot more. I think they're going to be working on route running a lot more and reads. And probably a lot of blitz pickup. I bet there's going to be a whole bunch of periods where they're just like, all right, we're our blitz pickup drill where you're not actually running a play, but you have a play called and you snap the ball and you just gotta pick up the blitz and figure out who's hot. I imagine there's probably going to be quite a bit of that. On the defensive side, I think it'll go all back to a lot of technique. Just the real basic things, your everyday drills. Turning in
tackling,
phase,
maybe
probably tackling, squeezing posts, just those small things that nobody ever thinks about. Everybody watching the game is worried about what the defensive call actually is and what we're playing and not necessarily are we playing it correctly. And I think there'll be a lot more man-to-man drills probably. And
how many days? How many days do they have to practice? How many days do they have to practice though? We're throwing a lot of stuff out there, and we call it the bye week. But what are they really getting? 3 extra days? 4 extra days? I don't know what Saban's philosophy is on the bye week and how much they have to practice.
They'll probably get one extra day. Yeah. I mean, I think that you'll get. I think it'll be a regular cadence. And instead of Friday being a walkthrough, Friday will be, I don't know that it'll be a full practice, but it'll be not a walkthrough. Maybe shells and just the helmet, but we're still gonna do a whole bunch of non-contact stuff and just make sure, our technique's sound and we know what we're doing. And if you want to run up tempo, you run up tempo, getting out of the huddle quickly. Maybe you're in the indoor and they're pumping in all kinds of crowd noise and you got to communicate and they're doing, those kind of things, but less competing, I should say.
Someone need to call us and let us know, or text us, or message us to let us know. Do they actually get Saturday and Sunday off on those things if they do go all week? So let's talk about this up-tempo stuff. So you were able to play in a up-tempo offense when you were at Drake University playing as a wide receiver there. And I don't think people really understand the skill set that it takes to be able to do that, but also how effective that is against defenses, good defenses, that really rely on getting lined up and having the right call at the right time. So why don't you kind of see if you can summarize us up a little bit and tell us a little bit about your experiences and being in a up-tempo offense, while you were in college.
Yeah, so we had 3 tempos. We had Indy, which was named after the Indy 500. So, imagine race cars. That was our fastest tempo. We had fastball, which was our second fastest tempo, which was a little bit slower, but it was still designed. We weren't a huddle team. And so fastball was kind of our default. And then we had huddle, which was a misnomer because we didn't huddle anyway. We just kind of took our time. And how this worked and why I think it's so difficult for defenses is because, a lot of times the defensive call is coming in first it's coming in every play just like an offensive play is. But when we were in our indie pace, the coaches were not calling the plays. They would go like this, which meant bread and butter, which meant just do what we do best. And we had calls that were named after NFL teams. And the way our offense was set up was that we were actually making the play call as part of our cadence. And I won't spoil Eastern Michigan's cadence since they're still using it. But if you knew what the cadence was, you could listen to it and know what the play was. So that's how we were actually calling our plays. So we could get lined up, call the play at the line of scrimmage, and say hut at the same time. And everybody knew what was going on. So if you're a defense, how do you then look towards the sideline and try to figure out what your defensive play call is supposed to be while we're actually just calling the play at the line of scrimmage? And the defensive play call is going to be based on what?
So give them an example. You don't have to use the real terms because people are using it, of what that may sound like, when the offense is, you got your double set, whatever, and then they're saying what? Because, you hear Tom Brady and all them sometimes saying something, Alabama, or whatever, but, what are they saying? Fried chicken.
So
what's going on?
As the ball's being spotted, our quarterback is yelling out what formation he wants us in. Totally up to him. The coaches trusted him enough to kind of know what the defense is doing, so he felt comfortable just getting in a formation. So he might be yelling trips, whatever. So as we're lining up, and he gets in his stance, and we're all lined up. He hit the cadence is something like blue Hawaii Niners, set hut. That's it. I already know what the play is. Now that I've heard blue Hawaii Niners, I know what route I'm supposed to run and what route everybody else is supposed to run, or whether it's a run play or whatever. And it's that quick. So we could actually the people actually slowing us down was the ref trying to spot the ball and get out of the way. And we were, that's what we did all week. So we were very used to just getting up there, blue Hawaii Falcons, blue Utah Falcons, whatever, run the play, keep going. And then occasionally we might slow down and look towards the sideline, and that would take us some time, but we were still able to get plays off in 15 seconds or less.
Yes. And that is where defensive coordinators, because if you don't have an offense like that, that moves that fast, it's kind of hard to simulate in practice, right? And then it's hard to necessarily get the right call because, like you're saying, you don't know. You could totally be breaking all your tendencies and different things of that nature just to go fast. They're trying to get it off, get the play off. So it creates issues with highly intelligent, smart folk, unless you have some tendencies that are going into your up-tempo part, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and one more thing, I think the hardest part about the up-tempo thing, especially, if you were playing us, was, Falcons might be the play call or whatever. And, we know what it looks like out of 2x2, but we also know what it looks like out of 3x1, or if we got 2 backs in the backfield, or if we got 1 back in the backfield. So if you're calling your defense based on what formation we get out there, we're not substituting. So we can make the same play call 4 plays in a row out of 4 different formations, and we just know what it is. The route concepts are the same. So if you're saying, hey, we got a trips check, well, because they like to do X, Y, and Z out of trips, well, it's the same thing out of 2x2, just with a little wrinkle. So, the motto was kind of, because we had a play called Denver, and we would say Denver is Denver is Denver is Denver. It doesn't matter what formation it is. It's the concept of what Denver is. And you got to run it. Whether you got a tight end, no tight end, 2 receivers, 4 receivers, 2 backs, didn't matter. We could just get up there, call the play, and you're expected to know it without having to adjust, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I just want to make sure we're reminded or get people to really think about that, because that's tough to defend, and especially when you start because then they don't have time to sub a defense, meaning, especially if you do it multiple plays, right? And we all know what happens when those guys up front get to running full speed and they're getting about 10, 12 seconds to try to get lined up, get ready, grab their breath instead of the 40 seconds or closer. And they get tired. Then you're wondering, man, why are they running the ball right up the middle on us? And then you pop something because those guys can't get off the field to rotate, right? And you brought up something else about that you could, with that, you have the ability that if you see defensive trying to run people off the field, well, shoot, in the pros, Aaron Rodgers is like the master of that. Seeing people trying to run off, they're running a little bit too slow. You're going to get caught with 12 men on the field because it's easy for a quarterback or someone to go into Indy, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as I was saying before the show, we had, all of our play calls were either a state, a country, a city, or some NFL team, with the exception of 2 plays. They were 3 and 4. They were the only numbers that we ever used in the entire offense. And anytime we saw somebody run onto the field while somebody's running off, it didn't matter what the play call was. It didn't matter what down it was. It didn't matter where we were on the field. We would call 3-3-3-3-3 set hut or 4-4-4-4-4 set hut and snap the ball and just pitch it to the running back. And like I said, it didn't matter if they had 11 guys on one side of the field and we were pitching it into those 11 guys and we couldn't block anybody. We knew we were getting the defense with 12 men on the field or a legal substitution, one of the two, and we were getting a free 5 yards.
That's good stuff, man. Be able to talk about things like that, because as defenses get more complex and you're trying to scheme like Alabama is, real NFL type stuff, and you're getting these young guys to learn, and then you got to get them to understand it pretty quick. It can limit you, right, if you're going against fast-paced teams. So I'm hoping that they're working on that a little bit and just trying to shore up where they can make some one-word calls on defense as well, that when is noticed, or if you anticipate it, you see it on film, or they do enough recruiting. They know scouting, I'm sorry. They know when teams might do that, and we have to be ready for that. Just so that if coach is looking at his sheet or whatever it is, trying to decide what he wants to call on defense, that once you can, what do you call it? The persona, or you can tell when people are trying to get ready to go fast most of the time. Center's going to get down, put his hand on the ball. They need to start screaming out something like really quick instead of looking over there like, what's the call? What's the call? How many times do you see that? I didn't get the call. There needs to be someone who can make the call on the field, linebacker, safety, or something. Just say, hey man, we're code blue now, and just call it and run it. I like going on the safety side. Safety meaning, so you have different choices. Some people will, hey, let's just not give up the big play. Let's live to play another down. They're going fast. Let's protect ourselves. We ain't got a good call, so maybe we want to play quarters or something of that nature. Other teams will say, well, we don't want to get it confused, so let's just play man, right? The blitz. Let's send the heat. They want to go fast. We're going to bring some pressure and make them throw the ball quick. That's risky, right? It's easy, but it's risky. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of thought that has to be put, into that. Great analysis by you. We appreciate you for talking about that. I'm sure there's probably some more football nuts that probably want to hear more about actually how that works. I don't know. So, want to get at what maybe you can talk to if you know what are all those little signs, those little billboard looking things that they're holding up on the sideline. They mean anything, or they're just back there just to get some TV time and promote something that you like? What are they using things for?
So we didn't actually use them, but I have talked to some players that have been on teams that use them, and I've talked to just maybe a handful of coaches. And what I've been told is they are for exactly what you think they are. They are for defensive coaches to and signal stealers to look into those boards and try to figure out what they mean. And they don't mean anything ever. Nobody's looking at them. They just holding up stuff, and they got 3 people down there doing stuff, and it never meant anything. It's just more things to try to confuse you. And if they accidentally make a pattern, then that's great. That's what they want. Like I said, I don't know that to be true.
God,
I don't know if they just didn't want to tell me, but we didn't use them, so I don't know for sure. But I've been told they don't mean anything.
Dude, there's another game. It was this weekend. I can't remember which game it was, but they had these people holding these big curtains.
That was the
I don't know if
Alabama
you saw
Tennessee
that on
game.
the sideline. Oh, was it an Alabama game when we
Mhm.
were talking about that? What I mean, I know you worry about people stealing your calls and all this kind of stuff, but now you got to get some student or whatever, someone get
See,
some credit for that, man, to be
hold on.
walking around with these.
Now to be fair to Tennessee, you only noticed them because they were big curtains. But like watch Georgia. I think Alabama might even do it. They just don't show Golden calling plays all the time, and Bill O'Brien's up in the box, but they will hold the towels instead. So instead of big curtains, they have like 3 people holding towels around Kirby Smart so that he can do whatever he wants to do, and the film cameras can't see behind him. So
What?
everybody does it.
I mean, you're protecting yourself from TV?
No,
It's only good for one sideline?
I think it is. I think all of the film is in a designated spot on one sideline.
Well,
And they usually, and I
don't
would
know.
imagine, but I don't know. All I know is sometimes they're up there. You know, I've seen the coordinators up there with the broadcast on. They got it muted, but they know that they're showing the other team's coaches and what they're doing over to the sideline, and they got the TVs on, and they're using that to.
that.
So I don't know.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way to. I don't know. You got them signs, use them things, holding up towels and hold up curtains and all this stuff. It's tacky, man. It's tacky. It's not football. I mean, I'm sitting here looking like, really? We need to find that footage because there's probably some people who don't even know what the heck I'm talking about. I mean, how big do you think that stuff was, man? I mean,
They were huge.
Yeah, they're running into people on the sideline. They got to look around the thing so they can follow all 3 of them coaches that they're trying to hide.
Hey,
you already don't know. I mean,
at least you know where to look. You know, if you're the offense, you're trying to find your 3 signal callers. Like, yeah, just find them giant curtains, and there they are.
They might be dummy too. Look, they're going to be looking at them, and the other guy down at the other end is.
Yeah, could be.
Man, everything. Well, maybe not in college yet. I guess they're not. They don't have headsets to be able to talk to players on the field yet. You know, I think that's something that they really should start to try to implement. It's time enough. There's enough technology and good stuff to where if you need, a microphone in your quarterback's helmet and in your linebacker or one designated defensive guy, I don't see why we haven't got there in the college level yet. Because I mean, who cares? It would stop some of this other stuff, so we're not having shower curtains, and because now it's going to be a battle of who has the best looking things. You're going to, Miami's is going to end up being purple or something crazy because of their colors, but whatever. All right, man, I'm getting down a rabbit hole with that. They were just getting me fired up when I saw that doggone thing.
Well, to get down a different rabbit hole, Greg Young has a question that says, "What is your best defensive play?" And then, "What is your favorite?"
My best defensive play? Well, that can go down a couple different ways because depends on how you look at it. So here's what I'm saying. So for instance, I thought a great defensive play was when I stripped the ball out of Ample's hand in the pros with Dallas, and we were playing against the Vikings. It was kind of a hustle play, and he was getting ready to cross the goal line. He changed hands with the ball because I think he was getting ready to celebrate. He didn't know I was behind him, and as he was shifting, I hit the ball out. Right? It's not flashy or whatnot, but it ended up being a turnover or a touchback because it went out the back of the end zone. So I think of things like that where it's, don't quit. You never know what it's going to be, and it ended up being a tremendous football play. My favorite play probably is the 101-yard interception return I had when I was in Green Bay. The record still stands, still holds. I do have someone tied with me now that's here recently. But that was like the highlight. I know JT had one. How long was yours? You have like 108, 105?
Yeah,
What was
yeah,
that
mine was
interception
105.
return?
I mean, it was high school, but yeah, it was 108.
Yeah. And I'm going to say it was one of my favorite because it was in the playoffs. So it's a playoff record. There's plenty of interceptions that have been returned 108 yards, 107 yards in regular season. Mine was actually in the playoffs for 101 yards. So that was a big play too, though. That's when you get that because you had to read that. Our plays are actually kind of identical. I don't know if you've ever really paid attention in that or seen that. JT, and the way you intercepted it and went. You ran a little bit different because you were dipping and dodging and making people miss, and mine was kind of, I got it and I got gone, hit the sideline.
Well, ours was different because you didn't get caught. I got caught by my teammates who just happened, which was a good thing. I got caught by my teammates who ended up blocking for me and escorting me the rest of the way. But David Jenkins caught me.
Doesn't matter. You got in the end zone, so you made your way to weave through there, and you got there. So it was a huge play, and so Young man, we appreciate you as always. You're a Teagster, man. You're always here for us, and we do appreciate it. And we hope to be able to catch up with you, sooner or later, or we can meet you in person. So I hope that answered the questions for you there. All right. That's not a rabbit hole. That's a good conversation because there's a lot of big plays. JT, did you like to play? Because you did both, right? I mean, defense. So let's go with that first. Which one do you like better, offense or defense, playing wise? Not a specific position, but which one did you enjoy more? Don't think that long.
It's tough because like offensive practice is hands down is easier during the week. Like just being on offense just through a week of football is so much easier than being on defense. It's not even close. But at the same time, sometimes it's fun being on defense when you're playing well, but it's the worst being on defense when you're not playing well. Or if you're playing a team that just likes to run the ball all the time and you're the tiny little safety that has to get down in there and take on pulling guards and whatnot, like that's not fun. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag because there are games that I definitely had more fun playing defense than offense, but there are other games where I had more fun playing offense.
I'm not letting you off the hook like that, man. You gotta pick one. You can't give me this.
I mean, now
you gotta try to make your daddy happy because he defensive guy.
I would much prefer to play defense because I'm smarter now and I know more things and understand it. At the time in college, I understood our offense much more than I understood our defense. So in college, I actually enjoyed offense more because our offense was kind of complicated. And it was cool being able to just call the play on the field and nobody knew what was going on except for you. So, once I understood how to really run routes and those kind of things, I found that quite fun. So, I mean, I think in different stages of life, there were different favorite portions. So in high school, I enjoyed defense more. In college, I enjoyed offense more. Marcus is asking what positions I played. I guess the question is what positions didn't I play? When I got to varsity, I was playing running back and safety, both sides of the ball. And then my junior year, I was playing safety and receiver. And then my senior year, I was only playing receiver. But then I got recruited and went to Drake to play corner, which was not safety. And I had never played corner before in any long stretch. So I played corner there for about half a season. And then I got moved to receiver for various number of reasons, not because I wasn't performing at corner, but we used to do a live pursuit drill. And I was terrified of getting hit by those grown men. And since live pursuit drill meant they were just going to throw you the ball and have you run down the sideline until somebody hit you, that was not my definition of a fun practice. So I was actually making most of our defenders miss. And the defense coordinator came up to me after one of those practices and said, "Hey, you keep doing that, we're going to have to move you over to offense." I said, "Well, fine, just move me over to offense because I'm not going to be over here on scout team getting hit all the time." So I got opportunities to play that way because I had to play both. I had to play scout team offense and defense my freshman year because we were low on numbers after camp. So then I played receiver until I was done.
Okay. Well, I do that. And you know what? Since I know we got Marcus, we talked about you, Marcus, a little bit during the Ole Miss game and the retiring.
Oh, yes. I forgot.
Eli Manning's jersey. So we might as well go ahead and jump in this a little bit and maybe he can give us some insight on how he feels about this. So Ole Miss retires Eli Manning's jersey, number 10 in the game. Who are they playing?
LSU.
No. Not that that matters.
Right? It was LSU, wasn't it?
Playing LSU.
Yeah.
It was LSU. That's correct. And so we were talking about, what does it take to really – what do you have to do to get your number retired? How good do you have to be? How many stats you got to have? What is the standard for this? So there's a couple pieces to this that we got to talk about. First of all, I don't remember all the stats that he had, but they were pretty impressive, right? Collegiate stats. Here's what I want to get into is how many other people wore that number and how do they feel about that their number is retired, and especially if they weren't that good or something of that nature. But Marcus, you remember the guy's name, JT?
Yes, I do remember the guy's name, and he knows. His name is John Reese Plumley. And the question is, how is it that you're going to retire a number at halftime of somebody who is already wearing the number to continues to wear the number, and you let him out. He's a starter, and you let him out at halftime after you retired the number, still wearing the number. How does this work?
Yeah, we're not understanding that part. How do you retire a number? Someone's actually in it. Why not? I don't know. I don't. Somebody got to talk to me about that. How does that work? If this number's retired, is he going to show up this next week wearing that number? Because look, you can't help but laugh. I don't get it.
I mean, you
What? What are
knew.
you
I mean, you
laughing
knew
at? He
you were
wasn't.
retiring the number like weeks in advance, right? I mean, you had to get Eli there and
I
make
don't
sure the
know.
date works for him and all that kind of stuff. And meanwhile,
What is that conversation like? What the coach or the AD? I don't even know who makes the choice to say, "Hey, we want to retire this number." Maybe, who does that? Do we even know who
I don't.
who
No
votes
idea.
to say, "Hey, we need to retire someone's number," right? And then did someone have a conversation with this guy? Like,
Well,
we
Marcus
just need to let you know that.
Marcus has the quick, easy answer. He says, "Quick, easy answer." Arch did his visit this weekend, and they wanted to pull out all the stops, which I agree with. That's probably what happened. But still, though, like if you're gonna retire the number, you're
So
gonna have to tell John Reese Pullman he's got to put on something else. That's just the way it is. That's what retiring a number means.
yeah, get him a NIL deal or something, and say, "Hey, man, you got to get his number up." Because I mean, really, what do they do this next week? Yeah, maybe we need to look at the roster or something. Maybe is it gonna change, or
You know
is
what?
he gonna
I'm gonna
walk back
look.
out there with number 10 on?
I'm gonna look right now
Does
and just
he,
see.
get back out there on the field? Because that would be ridiculous. Hey, oh, we retired the number last week.
Nope, he's still
Just
so
kidding.
far on the schedule, or not on the schedule. So far on the roster, he's still number 10.
So that's got to be a fine on the school. You retire a number, you put the number up on the thing. And by the way, I guess I need to look into that too, because this makes me ask a whole lot of questions. Of when you retire numbers, why don't you put the name of the person on the stadium that, it's number 10, it's Manning. It's, I don't know who else they had retired numbers they had up there, but if you're going to retire a number, shouldn't you put the name? Because then anybody can claim that number. This guy later can say, "Oh, look," when it comes back with his grandkids and all that, "Look, they retired my number. I did such and such." He's going to be telling lies and stories and all this kind of stuff, man. Almost got to do better, man. Got to do better. Oh my gosh. Which schools don't retire numbers? Is Alabama retired any numbers?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think Penn State has retired any numbers. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I don't think that Nope, USC has definitely retired some numbers. I don't know.
Some quarterbacks.
Yeah, probably some quarterbacks. Reggie Bush, his number is probably retired. Marcus says the rules don't apply to the Mannings.
They can't read.
Marcus says the rules don't apply to the Mannings. Eli had a street named after him as a sophomore, and they changed the speed limit to 10 miles an hour in order for his number, in honor of his number.
Really? It's pretty badass. I will say, Manning was sharp dressed. He had on a nice jacket and shoes. He was looking pretty fly. I'm glad they won. So is Kiffin gonna leave?
No.
Go take this USC job or this LSU job?
No, they're not even looking at the USC ain't even looking at Kiffin. Like how many times he was there, he left, / got fired, I think, and then they fired him on the tarmac. Like that's just not a good look. You can't.
Yeah.
And if they did hire him, if I was Kiffin, I would take the job and then I would quit.
Yeah. I don't know who's in it. All I know is Tomlin's not in it. He shut that down pretty
Real
hard
quick.
today. I thought that was a great statement that he made. That there ain't no boosters with a big enough blank check to make me leave this job with the Steelers. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit of Cowboys here as well. Lots of great things, coming out of this bye week, 5-1, heading the division. by a lot. Going against the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday night, Halloween night up in Minnesota. Um, so, JT, the Dallas Cowboys will win this game against the Minnesota Vikings because
The Vikings aren't that good. I think their offense has a lot of potential. They just haven't shown it. They don't seem to be all healthy at the same time. Maybe they are this week. And I don't think that Minnesota's defense is good enough to stop this offense, really. I mean, I think they used to be, but I think there's too many weapons. They haven't been particularly as impressive as I would have liked them to be. So I don't have as much faith in the Vikings as I would have liked to.
Okay. So then I gotta just put your other hat on and just work with us here and try to give us an answer. But the Dallas Cowboys will lose because
the Dallas Cowboys will lose because Trayvon Diggs is spending all of his time covering Justin Jefferson, and Anthony Brown can't hold Adam Thielen, and one of them ends up having a day. And then while that's going on, they can't tackle Dalvin Cook. That would be why they lose. Time of possession, and one of their receivers get loose because they're playing opposite of Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs can't cover everybody.
Yeah, well, for fantasy purposes, I kindly asked the football gods to put Trayvon Diggs on Adam Thielen because in multiple leagues I have Justin Jefferson on my team. What, that means you have Thielen?
Yeah, I've got Thielen in the leagues that I'm actually doing well. I've got Justin Jefferson in the leagues that I'm not.
Yeah. See, so that's what I'm thinking. But this is a want to say a heartfelt game for me or whatever, where I have to be somewhat biased. Of course, I want the Cowboys to win. I'll say that. But, knowing the staff up there with the Vikings, spending the time up there with them doing training camp, obviously brings them a little bit closer to me. This is one of the games that I really was thinking about going to. I was really looking to see if Consuelo and I could fly up there and go watch it. But decided against it because I was told that my grandbaby was going to be having a big Christmas this year or something. I said, oh, what are you talking about? We didn't bought her enough stuff over the course of the year. I don't know that we need to be spending a whole lot of money for Christmas. Sweather didn't like that too much. So anyway, this is one where, of course, I'm going to be glued to the TV like I always would be anyway. I just think that the Dallas Cowboys will win the game because our defensive front is going to be better than their offensive linemen.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You've been pointing out their offensive linemen since training camp, and every time you text me, I end up turning on the game, and I'm like, yeah, they are not good up front.
No.
We do have a question from Marcus about. He said, "Can you give us some insight on what you learned about the Vikings corners during your time there at training camp?"
Yes, good question. So, and I guess got to look at that. I wonder if they're going to have Patrick Peterson back because I know he was hurt this last game. He's by far their number one guy, and I know he went out with a hamstring or something.
Yeah, he's been out for a while.
And they brought in Dantzler or however you say his name.
Dantzler.
But yeah, if he's not back, if Patrick Peterson's not back, they're definitely going to struggle back there in the secondary. Breland is really, really good. He's a gambler. He's given up some plays, and things of that nature, but he can hurt you. He's a baller. He is a baller. He can play some ball. So if they have both Patrick Peterson and Breland playing, that would be good for the Vikings because, of course, their safety play is good as well. But if Patrick Peterson isn't playing, Vikings are going to have a hard time trying to stop Coop, CD, cover tight end, cover Schultz, worry about our run. And I know Zim is a great mastermind of defenses, but we got some dudes, man. And Dak is playing at a super, super high level, getting the ball where it is. And
Peterson's on
their strength
IR.
is kind of at the corner. Oh, he's on IR.
Yeah, so I think he has to miss one more game.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys will win because Patrick Peterson is on IR. And they got enough people to cover Coop and CD and what's our other guy now? Number one. What's his name? The third receiver just
Cedric Wilson, the one
that
I will die Cedric on the hill Wilson. That he's better than Michael Gallup. Been saying this, but nobody believes me.
That was one heck of a catch he made on that fourth down play. Now, he's a big dude. That dude's tall too. I don't know if I don't know because I didn't really get to see a whole lot of Gallup there. So Marcus, I hope I answered your question too. That those first two corners are pretty good. Once you start getting into backups, they're like backups for most teams. They're good. Obviously, they're NFL players, but they ain't Patrick Peterson still running like a 4.3 something at 31 or 32, however old he is. It's ridiculously good. He gambles a lot. He has to play uptight and things of that nature, but not having him is definitely going to hurt them in this case. So thanks for reminding me of that. Okay. So do you want to talk about this defensive thing that you kind of put up? Do we want to debate that at all, or just wait?
I think we should. And I think we should wait unless we have anything more on the Cowboys. We got a couple comments. Clarissa, she smells a trap game. And Marcus is saying that Gallup may be activated by Sunday as well.
Well, he's not going to be ready to play. He can be activated. He can. Do I think this is a trap game? Maybe. What I will give after the Vikings.
Yeah, they have Denver after that.
Oh yeah, Denver. See, so here's what I'm going to go. I think the Vikings defense is definitely a lot better than what it was at the beginning of the year when they first started. You can look at their scores. They're holding.
They couldn't tackle when they first started.
Yes, so they kind of fixed some of that stuff. So I don't want to overlook and just say, oh man, we should be able to run down. They played some pretty good teams that they've had to stop. Shoot, the last team that the Vikings played, they did extremely well, holding them down. I think it was like 14 points or something. But so Clara, you could be on to something a little bit there. I don't know if it's a trap game. I mean, you still got Dalvin Cook in there that we always have to worry about, but I just can't get past, that our defensive line and our front 7 or 6 is going to be better than theirs. So as long as we don't let Dalvin get loose on some of these passes or they get some kind of big explosive play or something, I think we'll be fine with our defense. And then we just got to grind it out. We just got to outcoach them with the offense, and take what we can get. If they're down the corner, I think we should be able to expose that some. They're going to show a lot of. I know Mike Zim. He'll show a lot of the 11 up, whatever, 10 up. I guess that he normally does. Particularly in third downs to make Dak have to make a decision. Pre-snap on where he wants to throw the ball and try to confuse him. I think we'll see a lot of that, but I think Dak's just making the right decisions, and he's going to find the guy to get the ball to or call the right run play. When they do that, I think that we'll probably end up using I hope that they use Michael Parsons a little bit more in the pass rush too this week. But I don't know. I feel good about it. Even though it is up there, we got to play. Good thing is not outdoors. It is covered now, so we should be okay with the weather conditions as well. All right, so I'm picking the Cowboys to win. Do we score the 35, 38 points again? I'm saying no. I don't think we score that many. But
35 points. Well, I mean, 35 points is always a lot. I'm thinking 24 is probably closer.
All right. Yeah, I can go with that. I think that's good. All right, last little thing I want to cover is back into college football. I know we should have stayed there, but did it surprise you to see that Alabama jumped over Oklahoma in the rankings?
Yes.
Get to number 3.
It did.
It surprised you?
It did. Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Why though?
It surprised me because that is atypical of how I see the AP poll actually working. It's not as much as we, may agree with it or, look and say, hey, they struggled against Kansas and they haven't dominated anybody to this point. The polls don't usually drop you when you win, unless the team below you has some statement win, which I don't think that Alabama had. They were supposed to beat Tennessee by 28. So, and it took them all 4 quarters to get up by 28. The score was not indicative of how that game went at all. So, you can say, well, it was over, they beat a better Tennessee team by 28 than Oklahoma beat a Kansas team. But, one of those teams is still undefeated. One of those teams has won all their games, and the other one has not.
Okay. It kind of shocked me when I looked at it. I was like, whoa, how did this kind of happen? I think it's the same sentiment that I had, but it was, I don't know. It just seemed like they're trying to create a narrative, here coming up shortly that, again, try not to get that matchup between 1 and 4. But, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We got some more games to play. College football is kind of in a frenzy right now. We don't know. I think outside of Georgia, and Alabama, right? We don't know how this is going to end up in a few weeks because there's going to be some more people lose and some more people wanting to rise up.
Hold on. Oh, no, it's next week. I think it's next week.
For the committee to start putting their stuff in?
Yeah.
It's in November, right? First time in November?
I think so.
When it hits?
I think so. But, before we do go, I do think we should talk about Mr. Constant's tweet about Alabama's defense. Okay. And at least have a little conversation on stats and how they work and whether we should believe them or not. So I'm going to show the picture that he tweeted out, basically saying that Alabama's defense is bad, and is one of the worst defenses in the SEC. And this is what his proof was. Touchdowns allowed, sacks, pass yards allowed per game, and rush yards allowed per game. Now, the first thing, so I guess what I want to say when looking at this is, one, the teams that are listed on here. So, anytime I'm looking at stats and I'm trying to figure out, like, what are they actually trying to tell me, not what is the person trying to tell me, is that I look at touchdowns allowed and I see that there are 14. I know there are 14 teams in the SEC, and there are only 3 teams listed in this column.
3.
And 4 teams in another column and 4 teams in another column. So my mind immediately goes to, okay, well, who's omitted? Like, are these the top 3 teams? Because what they're trying to draw my eye to is like, oh, look at Kentucky. Kentucky's only allowed 12 touchdowns. And, look at the sacks. Georgia has 22, and we're all the way down here at 12, and Auburn has 16, and these kind of things. So when you had texted me this, I had immediately said, well, who have these teams played? And then I remembered Auburn's schedule. Auburn's first 4 weeks were Akron, who they beat 60-10, Alabama State, who they beat 62-0, and then they went to Penn State. So Penn State was the first real team they played, and then they came back home. So two home games, Akron State and Akron and Alabama State, and then they came back home, and their 4th game was Georgia State, who they almost lost to. And
yeah,
then you want to tell me that they have a better defense because they have more sacks? It's like, of course they have more sacks. The Alabama State wasn't blocking anybody. And then, I look at Georgia and I say, okay, I do agree that Georgia's probably the best defense in the conference. But then I look at their first 4 weeks and I say, okay, who really could have challenged them? Clemson, sure, we thought at the beginning of the year. But now, if you look at Clemson's schedule, it's like, how many points does – and actually, this is a legit question. Like, how many points do you have to score to beat Clemson? The answer
13.
On average is about – if you could score 2 touchdowns, you have a pretty good shot at beating Clemson. So I'm kind of like, in hindsight, did they really have an offense to challenge them? Maybe not. I know UAB didn't. We know that South Carolina is awful, and we know that Vanderbilt's awful. So based on those 4 games, you're like, oh, well, they only gave up so many yards per game. Yeah, they should. Great, because UAB, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt are not good teams. And, even Arkansas, Rice, Georgia Southern. Like, what are we comparing so far?
So this is flawed. We need a new way to try to determine what the best defenses are, or more categories, or putting in some kind of weighted structure is what you're saying. In one sense, in another sense, you're telling Marvin Constant that he's full of it.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that he didn't put this together. I'm willing to bet he found this somewhere and was like, "Oh, look at these numbers; they're terrible."
He did. So Marvin, and maybe we'll give him a chance, an opportunity to come on and defend himself, because I did start texting him and going on with some stuff, and he was kind of in his feelings a little bit with some stuff, because people were calling him a hater since he played at Alabama, and they felt like he was kind of attacking his team and saying, hey, the coaching staff, and because he wasn't being the homer. And he's like, no, man, I'm just telling the truth. If I'm going to be an analyst in this deal, I want to be able to put it out here the right way. So he feels like he's doing the right thing. And I'm sure that he'll come on and talk about it and try to defend some of this stuff, just because of the messages that we were putting in it together. So that's a good point, man. JT, maybe you can devise some kind of structure that really, I know you've been doing some research and you had some place, I forgot what you said it was called, where they had some type of power ranking kind of
Yeah,
thing?
I was referencing the SP Plus metric, and what they do. I give you the rundown. Let me see if I can break it down again for. So in short, it's a tempo and opponent adjusted measure of college football efficiency. So what does that mean in smaller words? It takes in account of the people you played. And it's also important that we realize that SP Plus is intended to be predictive, like forward facing, not necessarily looking back at what you did and giving you props for that. So what I like about this, and we had talked about this on Saturday, was that you, if you are unlucky and you lose a game, the algorithm doesn't particularly penalize you for losing a game to a good team on bad bounces. Things didn't go your way or whatnot. If you are playing a very good game and you lose, the algorithm does not penalize you for that either as much. So short, if you're lucky and unimpressive, and you win the game, your rating probably actually going to dip because the thing says, hey, you were lucky, or you didn't play how we thought you were going to play, much like, we're talking with Oklahoma. They were losing to Kansas. They didn't look all that impressive. They were shut out in the first half, and although they won, SP Plus would have dropped them. And much like, I guess the Alabama A&M game where A&M is playing out of their mind, had A&M still, like if A&M found a way to lose that game at the end, A&M still would have gotten credit for taking the number one team at the time to the wire. And I think we had both said that we kind of agree that that's the way it should be. If you're playing good teams and you lose on a last second field goal, you shouldn't drop 8 spots because they kicked field goal at the end of the game and you didn't have that opportunity. It's one thing if you get beat up, but it's another thing if you lose, in a whole bunch of overtimes or something. So,
okay,
using that, Alabama's defense is the number 7 defense in the country. They're number 2 defense in the SEC.
Well, some people go, I don't know, because when you tell them, you might as well, I don't know if you still have that where you can scroll through there and find out, because people are like, man, who's ahead of us? At 7, other than Georgia and maybe Clemson. Other defenses are.
I can try to tell you real quickly. So, actually, now that the Week 8 rankings,
some of them will be surprising.
Yeah, well, now that the Week 8 rankings are out, Georgia is no longer the number 1 defense in the country. It is actually Wisconsin, followed by Georgia. I'm having a hard time finding number 3, but number 4 is Iowa. Number 5 is San Diego State. If I got to scroll this far for 3, then it ain't even worth mentioning. Number 6 is Penn State. And I can't find 7. 9 is Cincinnati. But Alabama has fallen to 10. So they're still a top 10 defense. But so far, if you've
according to SP Plus, make sure you.
Yes, according to SP Plus. But there is still no, other than Georgia, it doesn't look like anybody else in the SEC is in the top 10. Maybe A&M, but I can't find them.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting. It's interesting. Well, doesn't matter. I'm rolling on them. I still got them in my college football fantasy deal. I've been rolling with Alabama, and they've kind of made me mad. Giving up 21 points. They're like, man, my standards are getting way too high. I'm getting mad. They gave up 3 touchdowns. Or whatever.
Well, I mean, I feel like in these days and the way offenses are running and how the rules are, If you're only giving up one touchdown a quarter, that's pretty good to me. Even though that's 28 points, that seems like a win.
Amen to that. Amen, brother. Because it's hard to play defense, and the way they call them things, you can't touch people, quarterbacks. The pass interferences are crazy. Taunting is crazy. Yeah, just everything's crazy. Game's changing. Game's evolving. So next week, let's talk about a little bit of recruiting, how the game has changed with the NIL and the transfer portals. I saw some good stuff going on about that and how, that's done. I'd like to try to get into that a little bit. So I know we've hit it. We've got our time, man. It's been a great show. We, of course, always appreciate everybody for coming out, getting in the chat, being a part of it. Make sure that you, hit us up on Teague's Take. You can find me at Teague Football, Teague Football. You can also hit JT up at Bama J13. For all you people that like, what's that new thing I just jumped on, JT? Reddit. I got me a Reddit account. I don't know how to check it. People messaging me. I'm getting a little alerts, but I don't even know how to read it yet. But I'm actually out there now. It's Teague Football.
He is verified he's verified on the Cowboys subreddit, and the next goal is to have you verified in the Alabama subreddit.
Well, I appreciate that because I ain't been verified on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I don't even know how you do it. I've been on there some years, and I ain't got no check mark or no verification about anything, much as I've tried. And so for you to help me navigate that and get that done with the Cowboys stuff, that was pretty amazing. I'll have to. Well, I thought you said you were going to share that story too. Maybe you do that next time on. Actually, how that all went down, because that was a little bit shady to me.
What? On how you got verified?
Verified with.
It's easy.
Yeah,
yeah, there's just moderators, and I was like, hey, George Teague's in the chat, and listen, you got to remember the whole thing about Reddit is that it's anonymous. The point is to be anonymous, which means that it's very easy to pretend that you were somebody else. So. I wasn't
supposed to put my name on there?
No, I mean, that's fine. I was just saying, you had a comment that was like, I don't know who this is, but thank you. And then I was like, yeah, that's the point. You're not supposed to know who it is. You're just supposed to know that it's some dude named whatever. But, now that, I didn't want you getting called out for impersonating NFL players. So I was like, yeah, if I just message the mods and be like, hey, this dude is actually who he says he is, we can get you a flare, which we did. And now we just have to do it on the...
Well, okay, and I appreciate that, but I'm really more talking about what I had to do to get verified.
Oh.
Wrinkle a piece of paper up. Hold it at a 45-degree angle.
It wasn't no 45-degree angle. But, it's easy to Photoshop stuff. You've never seen the memes where, like, watch, somebody's going to make a meme of me. You hold up the little piece of paper and it's blank, and then I can just Photoshop whatever I want to on there. And then, it says whatever. So that's why you got to wrinkle it a little bit.
Okay, whatever. Have me stand there taking a jailhouse photo or whatever.
Hey, we got it done. It took like.
Of course, when so the terminology was slightly wrinkled, right? So yes. I balled the paper up. My wife says, that's not slightly wrinkled. That's like balled up. Oh, well, I don't know what that means. So anyway, good times, man. Love doing this. We're looking to do some more. Y'all stay tuned with us. Give us those likes, subscribe, hit us up on YouTube. Go give us some likes out there on YouTube and Facebook. Subscribe to those channels. Go ahead and download these things. We've been picking up a lot of downloads. I don't know if you see all those things, JT, we get on the people finding us and searching and listening to us later. So we do appreciate that very much. We do this because we love it, because we enjoy spending time together as family members, but also to be able to share some of our time with you and talk football and anything else. I'm one game behind Clara. now in the street team, fantasy football team. I think Marcus is ahead of us as well. I think he's tied with Clara. So I gotta catch them so I can get back up in the top ranks. Consuela's still up there, number one right now, but she's tied with everyone else. So I'm only one game back. I got a bad problem though because Davante Adams got COVID. Good Lord, he's hurting me in my fantasy league. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Give us any kind of feedback that you need. Visit our website, georgeteague.com or teaguesteak.com, and send us your messages, all right? But until next week, same time, 8 p.m. Central Time, we're going to see you guys a little bit later. Thank you guys for everything. Deuces. We're out.